Ben ritrovati lunedì mattina sul floor del New York Stock Exchange. In questo momento indici in territorio positivo, un tentativo di estendere i guadagni della settimana scorsa, ma ancora davvero poca decisione. Ne parliamo con il mio ospite qui sul floor, come vedete è Kenneth Polcari, che è il direttore delle operazioni sul floor per O'Neill Securities. Kenny, buongiorno.
Buongiorno, come va?
Benissimo, tu come stai?
Io sto bene, grazie.
So Kenny, this week it's all about earnings, and probably we're not going to see much action until we get into it, probably next week.
Next week is really, this week there are 4 or 5 reports coming out. Pepsi, Yum, Alcoa. That's great. It's fine. It'll give us a taste. But next Tuesday really starts the banks. JP Morgan, Citibank, Wells Fargo. That's certainly going to set the tone, right? And they're already talking today. There's a story in the Journal talking about how these banks are all gearing up and set to report great numbers out of their trading fixed income divisions. Doesn't say anything about their equity divisions, but it does say about their fixed income due to kind of this Fed withdrawals, create a lot of activity in the fixed income space. The recent departure of Bill Gross from PIMCO's created a lot of action and reallocation. So that very well may be true, but we're really going to have to look and see what the guidance is going forward, what all these banks are saying about really kind of the health of the economy, the health of the consumer, and the health of their other operations going forward.
And also, Kenny, we might look into the earnings also to the stronger dollar effect. It might have an impact of the multinational companies.
Well, it's certainly going to have an impact. It's probably going to have less of an impact on these third quarter earnings because the quarter was almost over, right? But certainly as guidance going forward, some of these companies that earn a fair amount of their money overseas are going to have to start to warn. Listen, Ford did it last week, right? 3 weeks ahead of their earnings season, they announced that they're shaving $1.5 billion off their year-end profit estimate. Some of it weakness in Europe, some of it a stronger dollar and what that's going to do to their profits. And so therefore, yes, I think we investors have to be concerned.
So now let's talk about the status of this market after like a shaky week, we can say, last week. And, we recuperated on Friday with the stellar unemployment numbers.
Perfect, right? They came out and reported that we created 248,000 jobs, well ahead of what the expectation was. But really the key was the unemployment rate went from 6.1% to 5.9%. Now, it hasn't had a 5 handle on it since 2008. And so in that sense, everyone's supposed to feel good about themselves. But if you really delve into it and look, it's not everything it's cracked up to be, right? You've got the lowest participation rate in 40 years. That takes us back to 1978. And anybody who was alive and around in 1978 remembers the health of the economy and the health of the United States economy was not good. And so therefore, I wouldn't necessarily get all excited about the fact that unemployment's 5.9%. You've got people that have just dropped out, people that have retired, people that are frustrated. So therefore, just by demand, the number goes lower. On the other hand, the jobs report shows 248,000 jobs, but where are they being created? They're being created in grocery stores and restaurants, very low-paying, minimum-wage jobs. Now, I'm not saying it's not good that we're not creating jobs, but how are these jobs really going to power the economy once you start to normalize rates? It's not. And so that's really the frustrating part of it, right? And so you had all weekend analysts and economists kind of delved into it, tore it apart. They're kind of rethinking the strategy. Overnight, we had Germany come out with a very weak industrial production number, which only leads investors and traders to think that the ECB is going to pour more money into the system, and boom, European markets take off. Again, we had that feel-good over here. The same thing happened over here. As long as banks are going to keep pumping money, and whether the Fed does or not, the other central banks are, and our rates are going to stay low for a while.
Even though here we don't really see much decision today, there is no reason until we have some catalysts on the market, and technically the S&P 500 you were mentioning, they're just fighting to just pierce some levels.
Right, and so 1970, 75-ish was a range that was going to provide some support. We had tested it a number of times on the way down. We pierced it, a couple of weeks ago. We dropped all the way down to, in the 1930s and rallied back up. And now over the last 3 or 4 sessions, we've actually tested that level again. We keep hitting a wall, we back off. We did that again today. The market was up strongly right early on, but it hit that 1973-ish level, and it failed, and we've come right back down again. So we appear at the moment to be stuck in this 1950, 1970, 75 range, which would make perfect sense until you get a catalyst that's going to push it up and through, or, in fact, push it down and through.
Week, apart from a couple of them, we were saying like 8 companies are publishing earnings. We have the FOMC minutes, but we don't have much else.
There's not a whole lot of macro data this week. You got FOMC on Wednesday. You've got Ben Bernanke also speaking on Wednesday to the World Business Forum. That might be interesting. Just people kind of listen to what he has to say, even though he's not in that position anymore. But you also got the Boston Fed president speaking tomorrow afternoon at a business conference. So it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. But mostly the focus is now going to start to go towards the micro, meaning the individual company reports as we gear up for that.
We'll see. Have a great week, Kenny.
Thank you. You too.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
E grazie a voi per l'attenzione e alla prossima.